Well, ambition has gotten you this far, and this is where you are in the middle of the year 2021. However, now only persistence can get you forward. Only persistence can get you to where you have been dreaming of being. Only persistence is the difference between this month of June and the December of 2021. But that is all in your hands. From us, welcome to Tuesday, the 8th day of June 2021. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga, and may I say good morning to you, Uganda. It is a new dawn in the middle of the year, and as we get into the middle of the year, there's so much that is going to be happening at the helm of our country, but yet it's going to trickle down to the grassroots of our very nation, and that is starting from the ministers and state ministers that are yet to be elected and selected, and then thereafter we also do expect a budget reading in 72 hours. That is going to change the face and the fate of economies, businesses, and everything that we do on a daily. But those are conversations that you can always catch up on with us here on Good Morning Uganda. And when I say us, I mean Felix Nkunda and Robert Kirabo, who always join me every single morning at 6:30 to 9 a.m. Good morning to you, Felix.
Good morning, Priscilla. How are you?
Very well.
It's good to see you this morning. You look elegant and awesome, I must say.
Merci beaucoup. Now, I'm just inquiring, from where you stay yesterday, what was the traffic around where you stay? What time did you get home? Was it like 4 hours on top of what you usually get home at?
I actually went home a little bit early. I had an assignment I thought I would better do when I'm home. So I was home very, very early. Then I went to the gym and all this thing. I didn't actually encounter this whole thing of jam, honestly speaking.
Really?
At all. So with that experience,
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, possibly because you have the traffic lights, green, yellow, red, to help you manage the traffic there and there. But we talked about trade routes, and yesterday the trade routes into the heart of Kampala were actually cumbersome with traffic jam. So many people, especially on Kampala-Jinja Highway.
But I think it was because of the kids who were getting to get back home.
Yeah.
And you know, as a matter of fact, there are two basic routes that are known for schools. That Jinja Kampala Highway,
and
you
Masaka.
could count exactly, and Masaka Road. There are very many schools there, so you expect that. But as you see, earlier on we had a discussion, I think sometime last year or the other year, that does every parent have to pick their child? Because that's what causes traffic jam. How about you have school, for example, imagine if a school bus was dropping kids to Kampala, like first, that's what used to happen. Like kids coming from
schools, that's
like,
what used to be the option.
They put you in Kampala, and then you can find your way, or parents can pick you from there.
Yes,
now, instead of having, because a bus can have about 65 kids, now that means 65 cars. I think these things are quite avoidable, only that as you know, as being...
Felix, you have to put into consideration that there's different classes of Ugandans. So not every Ugandan can afford to pay that extra fee for that transportation
But what's the difference? As long as you're going to drive to that place.
But Priscilla,
it's not cheaper, because you see, even the proprietor of that idea would want to do it to profit, not to actually give it as a solution. So while the charges would be, let me say, transport fare from Masaka to Kampala would be 15,000 shillings.
Okay.
They will charge you 30,000 shillings. And then
let me just give you an example, Priscilla. But before that, let me just say morning to Robert. Robert seems to keep his greeting for a long time. Morning, Robert.
Morning, Felix. Morning, Priscilla. And morning, our dear viewer. Thank you so much for starting your day with us, because we always have so much and plenty for you. Well, I buy Felix's idea. I remember... first and foremost, the truth is it's cheaper. It's cheaper in one way, because this bus is carrying a couple of students heading back home, and therefore, no matter what the charges are, it has a contribution to many numbers. So it's one way cheaper. But also, we have a challenge as African parents, more so the elite in Uganda, where certain things have a show-off element. And that's why you find that some parents would want to pick their children But I remember we had that issue of buses.
It's not a show-off element. Please consider. One, I can afford to pick up my child, so it's not my problem that I can actually afford to pick up my child.
You know,
it is not a
Priscilla sounds like Marie Antoinette.
Exactly, and she was right in her own
say.
say.
Imagine that?
She was right. If you can't find bread, then eat
also
cake.
you have to consider that it's a COVID-19 situation that we're talking about here. 65 kids in one bus. That is the crowding we are trying to deal with.
Funny enough, they've been sleeping in a dormitory,
my own child.
100 of them.
Yes.
They're coming from the same school, same venue, and they're just heading. Those days we used to use the Constitutional Square, but then to a city square and the National Theatre.
No, you just agree somewhere.
Or any other
But for
place.
example, I've seen in different communities, imagine you have sort of like a locality or a quarter where you stay of about, say, 10 houses. Let's say, why don't you come together as parents there and agree to have your kids maybe in one school and just get a van? And now imagine 10 houses.
Because the quality of education I want for my child is not the quality of education you want for your child.
Let me tell you something. It's simply potato. When you talk about issues of quality, that is also relative. You know, we've been misled by this beacon of names. My school is this. Man, the real issue happens with grooming. Education is not enough for people to be successful, if you want to put it that way.
Well, guys, still talking about students returning home. Yesterday I witnessed a funny scenario, and I really felt, you know that Uganda have a saying that amaziga ga wante lyesanyu lya malembo, meaning that when they are slaughtering a cow, the dog is watching and is excited because it's going to take maybe the offals and all that. Yesterday, of course, school was closed following the presidential address, and you find that many schools actually had to ensure students go home. So a friend of mine tells me, please help me pick my child, get him to the bus park. A brother in Christ stays in Gulu. And when I reached the bus park, these guys had doubled the fares from 40 to 80. And I was wondering, now a poor parent who has sent 40,000, knowing this is the cost, you have to send additional 40,000. Making matters worse, I kept on telling them, now the demand is high, maybe if you wait later they'll reduce. But the more it was getting late, the more the fares were going high. So I had to tell this young boy that you rather get on the bus, we pay this 80 and go to Gulu. But unfortunately, when I was home watching some telecast, I saw students that spent the entire night in the taxi park, in the bus park, and the way they were sleeping. I'm like, if we are chasing them from school to avoid congestion, now what is the menace at these bus terminals?
What do you think would be done, Robert, as a parent? What do you think can be done? Let me ask it that way.
To be honest,
you who was in the park, what did you do about this situation?
I just had to top, that is 40,000, so that the child can go at that cost. It was, the parent had sent 40,000 because that is the normal fee, 40,000. Now what happens, they have doubled, it is 80,000. How can you double 100% increment? At least maybe put a 50%.
You know what those guys were saying? That they are driving you one way. They are going to go and come back with the car empty. But so the cost was put actually on the people who are going. Nevertheless, I think this is where we must also involve ourselves as society. Honestly, sometimes we don't have to have a plan. I think these are some of the things we can do together. Kirabo was in the bus park. You saw 3, 4, 5 children. As a good citizen, do something.
Well, while we wait for good citizens to do something, the very good citizens are being, tortured for just a directive from the president. I think the better people to have been called on to or to have had this conversation with would be the Ministry of Transport and Works and whoever is in charge of people like taxi teams and the bus teams like that. They should have decided that, you know what, guys, because of the situation, let's not hike prices, because that is milking a cow for nothing. You're earning from someone's misery, and meanwhile even your child is also coming from somewhere else. You're also going to be charged an arm and a leg. Yet it's a situation that has not just fallen on us because we want, but it is what we must do to adhere and change the status of COVID-19 in this country. So the ideal remorseful thing I would have expected, and I still hope to expect, by the way, is that whoever is in charge of Utoda and those many companies should sit down and please be considerate that people are not here to make you rich. In this time, people are here to get to their next locations, because the challenge is a taxi takes 14 people. Now it has to take 7 people, and then you're charging those 7 people the price of 34 people. That is, I think that is...
I think Felix has always talked about some sectors where government must address itself. Most of the transport sector, I think these guys have proved a nuisance over a period of time under factors of demand and supply.
And it has been accepted.
And it has been accepted.
No,
so they just wake up one day and they dictate, and it's just like that.
Look at it in a different way. I think you're all being now one-sided. Sit in a driver's seat of a taxi. Who's going to drive up to Gulu and not come back with anyone? How? They're also out there.
That's the practicability of that. What do you mean they're not going to come back?
Because people are locked in districts. The one is coming from Gulu.
The district lockup is starting on 10th.
As well.
It is starting on 10th. So in these 3 days, why are they doing that? In these 3 days, a bus will go to Gulu, and then in the morning it's going to come back with passengers.
I think you're just...
And also in addition to what my sister has said, I've tried to spend some time to analyze that issue of we come back, the buses come back empty. The truth is not true. Because people
are still moving.
People are still moving. Even the people that are still coming. There are schools up country that also are having students, and they're reporting, and they're returning to Kampala.
Anyway,
so this is just something that they have over a time convinced the public to believe.
Something away from that, just very briefly before we go into our stories. The people who had prepared for weddings this Saturday, this weekend. I just put myself in the feet of those people.
No. I wish I was in the feet of those people.
I am thinking.
There's a wedding list here that someone shared. Now it's very easy for people to get married. 20 people is very...
If you don't make your wedding in this time,
listen to the list.
Then you will never.
Of the 20 people on the list, number 1 is cameraman, number 2 is groom, number 3 is bride, there's a priest, then there's a bride's parent, only father, groom's parent, only mother in brackets. Those are 6. You have decorator or moko, best friend of the groom. You have the DJ, a videographer obviously. Then you have Owabia. Then you have OB secondary, 1 representative, OG primary, 1 representative, village Nabachara, LC3, and then the Wurureta. These ones are Wururu. Then timekeeper and an LDU. Those are the 20 people. If I was really ripe for marriage, I would say, honey, you know what? This is the time. Next weekend to Chingari.
To be very honest, if you don't, this is an opportunity. You know, there's always a blessing in disguise.
You get.
So this is an opportunity that if you've not yet put a ring on her finger or his finger, 20 people, even if you go to a hotel and you're to buy plates, maybe at
50,000.
50,000 each.
You're too posh.
Yes, look at that calculation. Then the gown.
What do you need a DJ for 20 people? Let's start there.
You have to eat food when there's music.
Just get a Bluetooth, connect with your phone and play Bluetooth loudspeaker. What the hell?
Okay, so DJs of 19 people.
Secondly, what do you need a beer person for? Put the drinks there. Just it's a dining setup. 20 people is a dining setup.
No drinks. Some people lose discipline, so you must have someone to regulate. But if you go to a hotel, they'll supervise that. If you go to a hotel, of course, the waitress will be part of the venue. So
now we are down to 18 people.
Me, I'm happy. No one is. You can't. The jazz of weddings is going to rest a bit.
Yeah. So Felix, honestly, I think this would be a good time to,
to do what?
Yeah, to get some of these processes starting for yourself.
What processes again?
No comment.
Kwanjula, Chara.
And Kwanjula has also been made easy because most of the women, you have to cross a district. So all we can do is just have an envelope and send a bit of money to facilitate for that TV set.
All your friends have to cross.
Because we can't cross. If I want to go to Gomba, now how will I go to Gomba from the 10th? Definitely, I'll just get a khaki envelope or mobile money will do it. And father-in-law have sent about that amount of money. Please just write a letter to clear us. We go to church and the wedding is done.
I was seeing some meme about these kids in schools, and it was showing 2018, I was in year 1. 2019, I was in year 1. 2020, I was in year 1. 2022, 2021, year 1. 2020. You spent 4 years in year 1, and now, for example, P1, they have been in P1 for the last 3 years.
From 2019, then.
Up till today. Now the baby class will never move. You're going to have baby
they'll
class
grow,
people of
that's
7
all.
years. Can you imagine?
Now those that had not yet started school, the likes of Gavi.
No, those ones are fine because they will never know, really. They'll never
They'll
feel
have
the
the
pinch.
impact.
No, because they're still young. Either way, by the
they'll go
time
to
they
nursery when
get
they are
to
7,
2 years.
8
No,
years.
I think they'll skip nursery because the law is,
Which is really not
once
enough.
they clock 6, they have to enter P1, according to Ministry of Education and Sports. That any child 6 years qualifies to go to P1, whether they attended nursery or not. So it's something to save a bit. So they
Okay,
clock
well,
6.
it's not the first time the entire globe has been taken over by a flu virus. It happened before in the 1800s, and so we've been there, we've done it, we have survived, we have rebuilt. Same will happen against COVID-19. Together, we can actually act or perish. So please do remember to wear your mask and then ensure that you carry a sanitizer with you, which I do commend people. I've been seeing everyone with a small sanitizer. So please keep that up and ensure that you avoid crowds at all costs. But continue following up these conversations. Of course, they're going to be building up. Different ministries are reacting into what the president did speak about on Sunday evening and trying to interpret it for the rest of the country to adhere to smoothly. So follow those updates on our Twitter handle, which is at UBC TV Uganda, and you'll be getting those updates as and when they do come in. But join us for the rest of Good Morning Uganda. We do have Molin Kenyana coming through with more of your weather and climate conversations. We will be having Good Morning Uganda agenda this morning, and we're still going to be talking about the same conversation also in preparation for budgeting, and of course we'll be having sports updates thereafter. So please be a part of us. Join in on our Facebook live stream, which is UBC TV, and on YouTube, which is UBC Television Uganda. But now we get to turn our focus to the last 24 hours. What have been those stories that have actually made headlines?
And COVID-19 restrictions still dominate most of the dailies and the news bulletins, beginning with what happened on Sunday when the president addressed the nation, giving 42-day national partial lockdown imposed on different sectors. Downtown Kampala, there was compliance but also adherence to the COVID-19 SOPs. This attracted government to institute new measures where the president warned against non-compliance, a total lockdown to sectors such as transport, arcades, markets and malls. Meanwhile, students flocked different terminals in Kampala to return home following the immediate closure of schools that were found, but unfortunately they found it hard to get transport means to go back home as fares were hiked. With the stringent guidelines to the transport sector and curfew hours, some vendors in Kampala were opting to shelter at places of work. COVID-19 vaccination in markets such as Owino is also being stepped up. Working in shifts is being sought of as an immediate boost to observe of social distance in these markets. In mid also, the president issued a wake-up call to arcades and operators and those that are downtown Kampala.
Institutions of higher learning have closed schools for 42 days to check the spread of COVID-19. They also issued messages to instruct wardens of halls of residence to tell students to vacate. The directive has, however, interfered with most university programs since some were about to begin end-of-semester examinations. At the entrance of Buganda Royal Institute, Mengo students are vacating the school premises with all their belongings to return home following the directive from the president. The quickest means of transport was using a border, students loading cases, mattresses, other personal belongings as they were leaving school. Students say it is the second time schools are being closed and it affects their progress. They claim it will make them stay in school longer. And effects to capture scenes inside the school gates were frustrated by the gate man, but at Mackay University in Mitchell Hall, a vehicle parking lot was full because students were being picked up and returned home. So this is the situation across the higher institutions of learning.
While still on COVID-19, one of the ways to fight death and severe illness is vaccination. The overwhelming number of people yearning for vaccination against COVID-19 has led to reduction of the vaccines, hence calling upon government to support. The nurse officer, Kisenyi Health Center for Luca Fredrin Viola said first-timers missed COVID-19 vaccination jab. the declaration of 42 days of lockdown due to the increasing cases of COVID-19 has led to people rushing to vaccination centers. At Chisenyi Health Center 4, those supposed to take the second jab of vaccines were given priority, leaving out those coming for the first time. Statistics show that the number of people admitted to intensive care unit has increased because of COVID-19, forcing many to take the jab. Chisenyi Health Center 4 nursing officer advises all those not vaccinated to be patient, while Sharamak Kuki, from an Indian origin, confirms that many Indians are dying and they are running out of burial places.
Away from that, Uganda police has instructed territorial commanders to create local support teams to enforce the observancy of the anti-COVID-19 regulations. Uganda police spokesperson Fred Enanga says they will strengthen community policing. The Inspector General of Police, Martin Ochola, directed all territorial commanders to create special local teams to beef up the enforcement in the fight against COVID-19. They will also collect videos as evidence in court proceedings. Uganda Police has also responded to the presidential directive on giving traffic officers rifles, and the police ICT department is undertaking radio call assessment to restore operations. In this direction, signal operators have started their training.
Very interesting stories, Priscilla, there. When Enanga said we do not have enough pistols to give traffic officers, but what we shall do will ensure there is a field force officer at every point where there is a traffic officer. We hope that will go a great way in fighting crime. But Felix, what is it that is trending on the international scene?
Well, of course, there are many stories there in the international stories, but we will also change our guns towards Israel. Israel Attorney General will not intervene in Sheikh Jarrah's case. Now, Israel's Attorney General has informed the Supreme Court that he will not intervene in the legal proceedings of a high-profile Sheikh Jarrah case, which 4 Palestine families occupied East Jerusalem are facing imminent forced expulsion from, that is in favor of Israeli settlement organizations. Now, in a statement issued on Monday, Achivim Beledit said there is no place for him to intervene in the proceedings, and last month the Supreme Court gave the Attorney General until at least 8th of June to submit his legal opinion on the matter. Still about international stories, Canada, we're looking at family targeted in fatal anti-Muslim attack, while we did see also police in the Canadian province of Ontario says the driver intentionally struck a family because they were Muslims, now killing 4 people and seriously injuring a 9-year-old boy in what has been denounced as act of unspeakable hatred. And of course, the victims, all members of the same family, were hit on Sunday evening while waiting for a cross-street city of London. Now, about 200 kilometers southwest of Toronto, Canadian news outlets reported this on Monday. Now, also police said the victims were 2 women aged 77 and 44, and a 46-year-old man and a 15-year-old girl and 9-year-old boy also was seriously injured in this and is also recovering from a local hospital. Now, Nigeria is in discussions with Twitter after a ban, where Nigerians say it is in discussion with Twitter having suspended the social media platform over the weekend. After meeting diplomats, Foreign Minister, that is Geoffrey Onyem, said the government would see how negotiations proceed before making any further discussion. Now, in their latest move against Twitter, the authorities have ordered broadcasters to deactivate their accounts. Western diplomats have also criticized the suspension, saying free speech is key part of democracy. Now, in Nigeria, government has also denied its ordered shutdown after Twitter has removed tweet from the president Buhari there threatening a secessionist group. BBC Newsday spoke to Ghana Sesan there, a pedagym initiative where we see offer digital opportunities to young people across Africa, who says the government's ban had backfired. Now, guess what? The only people who have been muted right now appear to be government themselves. Yes, some businesses are not tweeting because of the early punishment that they are taking from government. But nevertheless, Nigeria seeks to put things right if Twitter allows to their condition. Well, clearly that's what's happening in Nigeria, Israel, and also Canada. But don't forget, all our viewers, to also do start your day with Hallelujah ginger tea drink and Hallelujah tamarind drink, some of the drinks that will help you also boost your immunity. Now we'll take a break, have our song for the day, and when we come back, we'll get into our news. Now, our song for the day is a dedication that we'll tell you after it has played. Let's take a break.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.